the Feast of Dedication. Hanukkah, the eighth-day Jewish celebration known as Hanukkah or Chanukah, commemorates the rededication during the 2nd century BC of the Second Temple in Jerusalem, where, according to legend, Jews had risen up against their Greek Syrian oppressors in the Maccabean revolt. Hanukkah, which means dedication in Hebrew, begins on the 25th day of Kislev on the Hebrew calendar, and that usually falls in November or December. So the history of Hanukkah, the events that inspired the Hanukkah holiday took place during a particularly turbulent phase of Jewish history. Around 200 BC, Judea, also known as the land of Israel, came under the control of Antiochus III, the Seleucid king of Syria, who allowed the Jews who lived there to continue practicing their religion. His son, Antiochus Epiphanes, proved less benevolent. Ancient sources recount that he outlawed the Jewish religion and ordered the Jews to worship Greek gods. In 168 BC, his soldiers descended upon Jerusalem, massacring thousands of people and desecrating the city's holy Second Temple by erecting an altar to Zeus and sacrificing pigs within its sacred walls.
Led by the Jewish priest Matthias and his 5 sons, a large-scale rebellion broke out against Antiochus and the Seleucid monarchy. When Matthias died in 166 BC, his son Judah, known as Judas Maccabeus, the Hammer, took the helm. Within 2 years, the Jews had successfully driven the Syrians out of Jerusalem, relying largely on guerrilla warfare tactics. Judah called on his followers to cleanse the Second Temple, rebuilt its altar, and light its menorah, the golden candelabra, whose 7 branches represent knowledge and creation, and were meant to be kept burning every night. Even though there was only enough untainted olive oil to keep the menorah candles burning for a single day, the flames continued flickering for 8 nights, leaving them time to find a fresh supply.
So for 8 days, they celebrated the rededication of the altar. It had to be cleansed. It had the awful pig's blood on it and terrible things that happened there in the temple. So while the part of the story concerning the oil is disputed, it is the traditionally accepted view. The apocryphal books known as 1st Maccabees and 2nd Maccabees record other versions of the origin of the 8 days of Hanukkah. Neither of them mentions the miracle of the oil. And so 1st Maccabees reads that for 8 days they celebrated the rededication of the altar. Then Judah and his brothers and the entire congregation of Israel decreed that the days of the rededication should be observed every year for 8 days. 1st Maccabees 4, 56 to 59. 2nd Maccabees says simply, the Jews celebrated joyfully for 8 days as on the Feast of Booths or Sukkot. And this would have been, a month or 2 after Tabernacles would have been able to be celebrated if they'd been able to keep their feast. So it was kind of like a late Sukkot too, but they kept it for 8 days and the altar was rededicated.
– 168 years before the birth of Yahshua, Antiochus Epiphanes outlawed the Jewish religion and ordered the Jews to worship the Greek gods. The story of Hanukkah does not appear in the Torah because the events that inspired the holiday occurred after it was written. It is, however, mentioned in the New Testament that Yeshua attends the festival of dedication. That's John 10:22 through 23. At that time, the festival of dedication took place in Jerusalem. It was winter, and Yeshua was walking in the temple courts in Solomon's colonnade.
Okay, now we have another altar dedication, another dedication for 8 days of the altar that's mentioned in the book of Ezekiel. After Ezekiel had surveyed the temple of Jehovah, he had a vision of the glory of Jehovah. And the purpose of the temple is the establishment and maintenance of harmonious relations between Jehovah and the sons of men. After this inauguration, the regular services shall be resumed and be acceptable unto Jehovah. And the epistle to the Hebrews, Hebrews 8 through 10, helps us to recognize in this vision the symbol of the purification of the church of Jehovah by the cleansing blood of Yeshua. He was the victim, the Passover lamb, and the priest.
In Ezekiel 43:25 through 27, 7 days shall ye prepare every day a goat for sin offering. They shall also prepare a young bullock and a ram out of the flock without blemish. 7 days shall ye purge the altar and purify it, and they shall consecrate themselves. And when these days are expired, it shall be that on the 8th day, and so forward, the priest shall make your burnt offerings upon the altar and your peace offerings, and you and I will accept you, saith Yahweh.
What does Jehovah require of his people today? Leviticus 27, dedicate yourselves to me and be holy, because I am Jehovah, your Elohim. And Jehovah has given us 8 days of dedication twice a year, Passover and Tabernacles. They are both feasts that are 8 days. 7 days of the feast, and then the Sabbath on each end. So we have twice a year time of dedication for our heart, mind, and soul to be cleansed. The dedication of Solomon's temple, 2 Chronicles 7:1. We'll go back and remember when Solomon had finished praying, fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and the sacrifices, and the glory of Jehovah filled the temple. Jehovah's response to Solomon, here in 2 Chronicles 7:11 to 12, when Solomon had finished the house of Jehovah and the royal palace, successfully carrying out all that was in his heart to do for the house of Jehovah and for his own palace, Jehovah appeared to him at night and said to him, I have heard your prayer and have chosen this place for myself as a house of sacrifice.
In 2 Chronicles 7:14, and if my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and forgive their sin and heal their land.
That's right. So dedicate yourselves to Jehovah by following his calendar in the heavens. Keep his weekly Sabbath, new moon days, and the 8 days of dedication during the spring and fall feast. As we know, Psalms 19:1 says, the heavens proclaim the glory of Jehovah, and the skies display his craftsmanship. So his calendar is there in the heavens, and he is wanting us to be dedicated to him. So I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope you'll go back and study all these times of dedication that are listed